Hey guys, this is Cam from 15, joined by my Uncle Darrell, and we are back with another episode review of Miss Marvel, the last episode of Miss Marvel. We don't know if we're gonna get a season two. It kind of depends after what the events of the Marvels takes place, but this was a very eventful episode. And then the ending was just good God with the freaking X-Men drop, and then the freaking post-credit scene with Brie Larson's Captain Marvel character. That was crazy and all, but pretty much this episode picks up right where we left off from the standpoint Cameron and Bruno, they're being chased by pretty much damage control, and the one lady we saw that was kind of taking the charge of being the capturer. Now I'm guessing you can say her character is, I guess you can say, kind of deemed a racist. Like, she doesn't really care for, like, I guess the Pakistani culture or anything like that.
It did make it seem like she had a true issue with that culture.
Yeah.
I mean, or at least Damage Control had a real issue with that culture because they visited that mosque 2, maybe 3 times.
Well, I think it was more her, because Damage Control was under her orders.
That's true. No, you're right. You're right. It was more each time they went to the mosque, it was her. So, but yeah, they really did make it seem like there might be some backstory there. Doubt if they ever, get into it. But I do think that we'll get a Ms. Marvel season 2. There was just too much to happen in this episode for them not to do more.
Yeah. My thoughts on, I don't even know the character's name being this. I guess you could say the main antagonist. She doesn't really do it for me. I'm just gonna be honest. It's just something that was in the way of Miss Marvel becoming Miss Marvel, pretty much. She kind of had her whole development, stuff like that in the later episodes. Here, against the final big bad villain of this show, it was kind of your typical villain. You see how in this episode, at first, she's on the hunt for Cameron and Bruno, but mostly Cameron. But eventually it goes to the point where they get to school. The freaking lead guy we see from Spider-Man No Way Home, he calls her up and says, like, listen, this is going too far. Yeah, this is a school. We can't do that. Otherwise, we're going to get in massive trouble and stuff like that. Call down. And it's your typical villain where it's like, I'm not going to take orders. I'm just going to do what I want to do. Simple as that. There was nothing really special about her. It's just, she's just there, yada, yada. If there was anything negative I could speak about the episode, it's probably her. And if there's anything about the show in its entirety I could speak negatively about, it's the fact that they didn't really have a main villain. They didn't decide who wanted to be the main villain. They didn't know if they wanted Najee to be the main villain, or if they wanted this damage control chick to be the main villain. So that's my negative.
Damage Control as a whole.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she's really representing Damage Control, even though there was a part in which, the other cop from Damage Control, which was in Spider-Man, he pretty much told her, don't do it. Don't be out there in the streets, sitting on trying to arrest and shoot and do all of this to children. Don't do it. That's not the reputation we want. And she wound up doing it anyway. So I think Disney kind of understood that they really didn't have a main antagonist. So they had to choose someone, and she fit the bill. She did. But I agree with you. If there was one thing that was probably wrong with this show, as a whole, throughout all 6 episodes, that they really just couldn't figure out who the bad guy was going to be long term.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the thing. They're on the run and they're going to like all these different places to hide out, but they end up almost getting found, so they have to keep moving on to the next location. In the meantime, Kamala and her mom gets back from Karachi, and you have this really cool, hilarious scene where Kamala's gonna reveal that, she's a superhero and stuff like that. In a way, I guess you can say she's Nightlight. But it's funny how her parents and her brother and her dad, her brother, and then her sister-in-law, they already knew, because the mom just basically told them.
She couldn't hold water, man. She couldn't wait to tell them.
Yeah. And the one thing I definitely do like is the fact that they're very supportive of her being a hero, and they're fine with it as long as she's obviously doing what she needs to do in school and stuff like that, because we even see at the end of the episode, make sure you do your homework, Kamala, and stuff like that. Yeah. So I definitely do like how they're all supportive of her and everything. And I did like at the end they were there in the crowd, cheering her on to help her win. But that was really cool. She ends up actually getting we see she ends up getting a call from, I believe, her friend that she had issue with. And she was about to tell her, but she's like, listen, I'm trying to call Bruno. He's not picking up his phone. I don't know where he is. Can you please try to call him and stuff like that? So same thing's happening with Kamala. Obviously, they don't want to use their phones because the government can legitimately track their caller ID. So smart on them. But that's when we see Cameron and Bruno actually end up going to the mosque. And they actually end up going hiding out. Now, the one girl, I already forgot her name. The one girl, she's like, you shouldn't be here. Like, they've already been here 1,000 times, but she's like, well, we got nowhere else to go. She's like, okay, we'll help you out with this whole situation. So that's when damage control obviously comes in. And they're like, listen, we got our warrant this time. We need to see if you're holding who we think you're holding. So they're looking around and everything, and you get this funny scene where she shows up. She's like, you don't want to go in there. You think like,
I don't want to go over there. It's really rough. So no, you just bypass this one, go on to the next one.
Yeah.
And they fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, obviously.
Yeah. So they open the door. It's like, I guess she has a boyfriend. I don't know if they're faking it or if this is real. Okay, whatever. That's the whole thing there. In the meantime, we found out that Cameron and Bruno were hiding behind this like secret shoecase door, and pretty much the pastor is like, listen, get free, go find a way, yada yada yada. Pretty much stay out of sight, stay out of mind. In the meantime, this is when we also get Kamala's full costume revealed. We actually get a pretty cool thing how her mom made the costume, which I thought was really, really cool.
That was really cool. That was, for me, I was watching it with your cousin Diamond, and that was right there. That moment was probably my favorite moment of the episode, was when we saw that logo of the broken charm that she got from episode 5. And I'll just go ahead and say this. After episode 5, I didn't think this show could actually get any better. I really didn't. So that was another part that was, I wasn't really disappointed in the episode because I knew they couldn't top episode 5. Episode 5 was great on so many levels that they would have had to really do something outstanding for episode 6. Episode 6 was very good, but that particular moment right there, when you saw that, like a half lightning bolt, so to speak, yeah, that part was really cool. Really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, her mom made the costume. I thought that was really nice. So she ends up showing up and meeting up and running into Bruno and Cameron. They're like, what the heck happened to you? And she's just like, oh, well, I'm a superhero now. So yeah, and it was pretty cool how she uses her powers to get around. And I like it how the people were just looking up. They're like, oh, who's that? And stuff like that. Which I'm gonna go off topic for a bit, but the thing I find hilarious about just the superhero stuff that's going on right now, it's funny because it's like, I always thought, I'm like, wait, aren't the Sokovia Accords in place to where superheroes like Ms.Marvel, Spider-Man especially, they can't be going around, swinging around, doing anything? But then I remembered, I'm like, wait a second. After the events of Endgame, they would probably be out of place because all these people died and they probably wouldn't care anymore.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing that I always was like, wait, why aren't the Sokovia Accords why aren't the police going after Spider-Man? Isn't he breaking the law? But then I remember the last time, like, actually, whatever. Marvel kind of broke their logic with that because now we see superheroes all over the place and stuff like that now. So,
yeah. Obviously in the books, it was pretty much the same thing with the Superhero Rights Registration Act or something like that surrounded the Civil War, which is, what they were talking about with Sokovia Accords. But, and they kind of veered away from that too when they reboot the universe, the Marvel universe. But, I didn't really think about that. I'm glad you did bring it up, but again, I really didn't think about it. So you would think that, damage control was basically a byproduct of the Sokovia Accords. I see what they're doing, but in the end,
yeah,
they're just irrelevant. Damage control. They just seem to be run by a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing. So they end up running together to go, get out of a situation and be saved. And the thing is, they end up meeting up at the school. So this is kind of when we get this whole school plan. Now, the one thing I like is how not only Kamala's friend shows up, and then even her brother shows up as well to help out with this whole situation. And then, shock of the episode, surprisingly, Kamala's bully Zoe actually showed up. She knows that that it was Kamala the entire time, and well, like a fangirl, she's willing to help Kamala out and everything. And this is kind of where they start their friends. So they come up with a whole plan of how to pretty much stall and take down damage control to get Cameron out. Now, Kamala also asked for a request from the Red Daggers, like, hey, I got this friend, it's Najma's son. Can you take her to Pakistan and pretty much hide him there? And he's like, I don't know. After everything what she did to us and everything, I don't know if that's a good idea. And Kamala's like, please, I can trust you. He's not who you think he is. He's actually pretty much different from Najma. And he's like, okay, get to the docks at midnight and there'll be a boat waiting for him to take him to Pakistan, pretty much. Now, in the meantime, Bruno also has a talk with Kamala, and that's when Kamala kind of reveals the secret. Oh, here, Cameron's mom, Najma, is dead. And Bruno's like, I think you should tell him that. And Kamala's like, I don't know if that's right now, if the time's not right. I'm like, you better just tell him so he doesn't come to hate you later on. Thank goodness.
And you know what? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was wondering why she wouldn't tell him anyway. It wasn't like there was anything that she did.
Yeah.
That led to Najma's death. I mean, all of Najma's decisions led to her death, which she wound up telling her in a sense that, you know, Najma gave you all of this right before she sacrificed herself for you. So, I mean, I couldn't understand why, you know, Kamala wanted to keep that from him. So it did happen. And there was a byproduct of all that because, you know, obviously Cameron was having some issues, you know, trying to control the power that was thrust upon him so quickly. So that became a big issue. So you had Cameron, damage control, and then, you know, Kamala's caught right in the middle of all of this nonsense. And go ahead, take it from there, my friend.
Yeah, I'm glad that even though it was kind of a thing he eventually finds out, and she's forced to tell him. I'm glad they got out the way. I'm glad they didn't like hide it off for this episode and they keep it hidden to where make it to where then Cameron's an antagonist for Kamala later on, and his whole reason was, oh, I'm mad at you because you didn't tell me about my mom and stuff like that.
Well, they could have also went a totally different direction. They could have went to a direction whereas Kamala, granted, she's very young, about, you know, she's very early in this stage of being, you know, light girl or nightlight or whatever she's calling herself at the moment. You know, they could have done something, whereas, you know, Kamala has a hand in Najma's demise. Whether, you know, it was deliberate or not is irrelevant. You know, some type of demise to bring that main antagonist to the forefront. Now, it still may happen with Cameron. It still may happen, or he might have some type of role when it comes around to the Marvels, but I would have liked to have seen that this character does need a main antagonist, and Cameron was perfect, but I don't know if they're going to do it or not.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see where that storyline goes. But in the meantime, damage control, they know that they're all in the school, and that's when the one cop's like, listen, don't go in there, it's going to give us bad press, and plus it's not what we're rolling with. So listen, just take your squad out, let's go replan and something else, and just wait for them to come out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's a lost cause pretty much at this point.
Yep.
But obviously the lady is like, no, screw that, I'm gonna go do it. So after she hangs up, she's like, she's supposed to call the troops back. She actually called for more troops.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, are you stupid? I'm like, this is probably what the real freaking police force be doing in this world, in the States. I don't know. I'm just saying, whatever. Controversial topic for another controversial day. But anyways, they come with a plan. So you have freaking damage control and their other agents just roll up in there, and pretty much you have it to where they pretty much get outschooled by kids. Now, the thing is that keeps this whole, I guess you can say, this chase scene going is the fact that each and every one of them is dressed up in a pretty much hoodie and a hat that looks just like Cameron. So they're pretty much the agents don't know, okay, which is the real one and stuff like that. So they're using a bunch of things and everything. It was a cool, eventful scene and everything. I still think. Now, I will say, in an unrealistic term sense, I don't think government agents would absolutely be like have this much problems with pretty much child games, like the tennis ball scene. You think government agents are really gonna be like, no, they're just gonna be powering through the freaking tennis balls and they're gonna get to the person. At least make it believable, but okay, I understand. You're trying to rip this off of comics, you gotta make it a little bit cartoonish in a real life sense.
And really, if you really think about it, I mean, historically, in scenes like that in the movies, yeah, man, the cops are always stupid. I mean, what you mean? I call it the Home Alone effect. It was like it's just the main antagonist in this particular case, which is damage control. They're always so stupid that, you know, stereotypically stupid from a movie standpoint. Whereas, yeah, they fall for the most mundane of things that's being done to them. Tennis balls, stuffed animals, you know, just come on, man, really. Yeah, it was, but at least they did it. They didn't drag it out.
Yeah.
To make them look, you know, so. You know, I mean, we know they're stupid, but they didn't just drag it out so that we get tired of their stupidity. Yeah. It was pretty quick. It was done. We were finished with it, and they moved on.
Yeah. You get a scene to where Kamala and Cameron, they're running together. They hide out in, I guess, what you would deem the principal's office, hiding from the agents. Don't know why the agents just didn't go in the room and just check over the freaking desk, but they're just looking around and like, all right, fine. But in the meantime, Cameron and Kamala, they were actually holding hands, and they kind of looked like they were about to kiss. And all of a sudden, Bruno comes in and interrupts that moment. He's like, oh, hey, you guys can get out of here. And he actually saw it, like they were about to like kiss and everything. And he was, obviously, we know that our boy Bruno, he's got feelings for Kamala. And he's kind of in a way a third wheel in this whole thing that's going on. I think eventually Bruno will get the win. It will be paid off sometime later.
You almost got the win at the end of the episode, though. He had a moment.
Oh, yeah.
It was a moment. He didn't take advantage of the moment.
Yeah.
But he had one.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. At this point, he kind of just gives himself up for Kamala and Cameron to escape, but I can feel your pain, Bruno, being a third wheel. I understand. Whatever. Anyways, they get out, and that's when the thing goes on when Cameron's just like, okay, where's my mom in this whole situation? And that's when Kamala reluctantly had to tell him, like, listen, your mom died and everything. Then he gets all pissed and everything. I'm like, oh no, here we go. We're getting evil Cameron.
I thought she did it to calm him down because he was losing control of himself as it relates to the power that he was given from his mom. I think she was, you know, because he couldn't control it at all, man. He was all over the place with it. I mean, so yeah, she had to do that just to get him to a state, whereas, you know, she couldn't damage himself or damage anyone else.
Yep, but it kind of backfired because he just ended up getting even more upset about this whole
Correct.
situation. So then he actually starts taking out on some of the damage control people, and I think he actually even starts killing some of them too.
Yeah, he was really knocking people here, there, to and fro, here, there, and yard. And again, Kamala had to do what she had to do because he became the threat, not damage control.
Yeah, which even again, another criticism. It's like this goes to show you what they ultimately did not know what they're doing. They didn't want to know if Najma was gonna be the bad guy, and then damage control, and then you got Cameron potentially being the bad guy. This episode, I'm just like, this episode's fine for what the most part. I'm like, but you're taking me all over the place. I don't know where to go. I'm sorry. That's just you can't do that because
it goes back to episode 5. Just like I was saying, it was clear in episode 5, Najma was the main antagonist. We had to make sure that Kamala's grandmother get on that train, but it was Najma George wanted to make sure that she didn't get on the train. So it was clear who the main antagonist was. But
Yeah.
Disney just totally went in a separate direction at the end of 5 by allowing Najma to give Cameron, her life essence, so to speak, and her power.
Yeah.
And left us to believe that Cameron is the new main antagonist, or Najma is going to use that energy that she thrust upon him to control him some kind of way, but it just didn't happen the way I was thinking it was going to.
Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention, Zoe actually did like an Instagram live stream or some sort of TikTok video, where she pretty much announces to the public that we're in the school, damage control is after us for no apparent reason, and stuff like that. So obviously that's how word gets out. That's when you get a crowd of people showing up at the school grounds, and obviously kind of have your typical kind of real life situation where you have a bunch of crowd of people like, hey, you guys need to stop this, and telling the police force you need to stop this, but the police don't listen, they don't pay them no mind, they don't stop. So it gets to the point, Cameron jumps outside, he starts attacking most of the damage control members, but then they start firing friggin' live rounds, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on here? Kamala comes in, blocks it. We actually see that she can't, when she creates these shields, they're not like Captain America's shield where she can block them 100%. No, they actually start to break off and everything. And it gets to the point where they stop the whole live round enemy firings, and they just fire this like gigantic radio concussive blast, which takes him down. You get your typical scene where main hero is down. Everybody's calling, get up, get up. You have they're focused on her parents getting up. Also, at the meantime, her brother and her friends all get captured. So they're already in the cop car and everything. So you have this scene where they get up, typical superhero scene you see in almost every superhero movie, especially a first incarnation, their origin story. They get up, Spider-Man's had it, Captain America's had it, Iron Man's had it, yada, yada, yada. We can go on and on. She pretty much gets up and she says the words in Biggin, which it's synonymous with her character, and in a way, and they make her look like, in a way, her comic accurate self, where she gets bigger. She's pretty much like a giant. It's just, the thing is, it's crystallized. It's not like her like legit limbs. So she just starts going on a damaging rampage. I liked it because I'm like, okay, now we're in her in a Biggin state. Pretty dope and everything.
I enjoyed that too. I gotta admit, I enjoyed that too. I like the fact that they actually took a moment to just pause, just so you can get the full view of her in that state. And yeah, it was pretty cool. The big hands, the big legs, the big feet. I mean, everything was enlarged to the point whereas she was in a sense bigger than life, so to speak. But again, it's still like episode 5, man. Episode 5 has such effect on me. I was really looking for them to take it to another level.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen that way with the main antagonist. It went from Najma to Cameron to damage control, back to Cameron, back to damage control, and it was just like, to this one particular person who was actually running damage control that was told don't go, but she went in anyway. So it was all of that. Kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and eventually I'm just like, okay, let's get it over with.
Yeah. To get near to the end of the episode, Cameron is just kind of taking over with so much stress that's going on. So he pretty much creates this huge, gigantic attack where legitimately people can die, and I think that he's almost even about to even open up the portal that Najma opened up in the 4th episode. But Kamala makes pretty much a shield bubble around and tells him, like, listen, your mom didn't die for a senseless reason. She died and she gave you the abilities you have now and stuff like that. It's pretty much something, we have to use these. And the thing is, Cameron, he's kind of afraid because he's like, you see how they're treating us. They're treating us like we're different, like we're monsters and everything. And Kamala pretty much tells him, well, yes, we may be different, but it's kind of the thing of, let's use our gifts, these abilities we have, for the right reason, for the right goal. Pretty much your typical scene, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah, and that's what I got out of it as well too. She's basically letting him know that, dude, just because we have all these powers, just because we have damage control on our necks, that does not stop us from fighting a good fight. Yeah. So, and he finally got to a point whereas he could actually calm down. But, And I guess you could also say this is, it's a real life sense for many of the different races that are faced with injustices as well. It doesn't matter what skin you have, whatever color the eye you have, yada yada, the way you speak.
It doesn't matter, you know. So it's just everyone has their fight to fight, you know. So, you know,
good message. I liked it.
It was a very good message. Disney did it throughout the entire 6 episodes, and we've talked about it on the other videos as well about a lot of the things that Disney did to put out about the culture, about Kamala's culture, Kamala's family, how she was raised, her religion, and things of that nature, to the point where we get some type of understanding of what they go through as individuals.
Yeah. So she creates a hole to get Cameron out. So she gets Cameron out. It's pretty much the fight is over. The lady looks like she's about to do something, but the damage control dude calls her and is like, listen, get your ass pretty much back over here. Because
you went without me telling you, and this is, I told you don't be going in there and shooting them kids.
Yeah. Pretty much fires her on the spot. She's out of a job, so that's all. So, hey, you have to wonder, maybe she could be a future hero or a future villain where maybe she finds some way to get powers and she wants to get revenge on Kamala. We don't know, but that possibility storyline could still be out there if they want to go that route.
But it would have been nice if they would have went that route, let's just say episode 2 or episode 3. Maybe 4. She would have been a really good antagonist for Kamala moving forward. But again, the show, as good as it was, it could have been great with a really good villain. So in the end, it was you know, it was good for me. You know, wasn't as good as, let's just say, Loki. You know, but you know, it was definitely one of Disney Plus's better television shows as it relates to Marvel Studios.
Yeah,
we'll see where it goes. Oh, yeah, you got to talk about that the ending and the end credit, my friend.
I was about to get to that. So at the end of the episode, after Kamala saves the day, pretty much, you have a montage of a bunch of people pretty much talking about what Kamala did and everything, and the fact that they kind of, in a way, like her, and it's kind of in their way, their friendly neighborhood hero because she lives in Jersey compared to Spider-Man. So yeah, that's the whole thing. That's cool. I still want to see a Tom Holland, Vellani, Iman meeting with their characters. I think it's going to be I think they are. It would probably be like in a team-up movie or something like that.
Could be.
I could definitely see it because I think the quips between the two are going to be absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah.
It would be.
Okay, let's get to the end stuff. The people thing that everybody in the community was talking about, which was just utterly insane. So first shocker of the episode is Cameron goes to Pakistan. He's with the Red Dagger, so he's probably going to try to get his powers more accustomed and stay there. Bruno actually got his, I guess you can say his freaking Mustang or whatever car it was, but his really good looking car. And pretty much he tells Kamala, listen, I did some more research or some more digging into the fact of what you truly are. Now, the interesting thing is I did compare your, DNA to your parents' DNA, and we all thought, oh, maybe her parents, like her mom, could use it. But apparently, no. Bruno goes on to say, you have something different in your genotype structure. It's almost like a mutation. And they play, just like in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, they play the do-do-do-do-do-do, which is the 1997 X-Men theme, which this confirms they changed Kamala from an Inhuman to now she is an X-Men, or a mutant. So this was a very controversial decision. Some people like it, are fine with it. Some people don't like it because they didn't stick to the comics with the Inhumans. I don't know why they changed it. They have their reasons to change it. I'm fine with it. Inhumans and mutants are similarly the same exact thing. They're just mutants. It's just the way they activate their powers are different. But in all, I see them as the same type of thing. So who knows? Maybe Kevin Feige makes Inhumans just mutants going forward, because apparently there's something out that he don't like the Inhumans, especially based on that Inhumans show that absolutely failed.
Yeah, that was bad.
But we'll see. But I'm fine with the change. I'm cool with it. I actually think it's cool because that means Ms. Marvel could actually show up in an X-Men film.
Well, the reason I like it is because, I mean, they had to figure out a way to introduce the X-Men into the MCU. I mean, 20th Century Fox had it for so long, and now, Marvel Studios has it back. They have to figure out a way to introduce it into the MCU. So far, how else were they going to do it? I mean, you could have maybe done it with the Eternals, but why pick that movie? That was one of the worst. That was the worst Marvel movie of Phase 4. So it might have been one of the worst, Marvel movies of the MCU. But where else were they going to introduce it? So they have to figure out a way to introduce the MCU. Introduce the X-Men into the MCU. They picked this opportunity right here, and I thought it was just like, again, got a hitch in the mouth. And they definitely did it with that, and then they did it with something else. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, and mind you, the author of the Ms. Marvel comics, she actually worked on this series as well. So she definitely gave the A-OK, like, it's fine if you change it. It's a little measly change, but of course, everybody.
It's like I said before, the books are always different from how they operate the movies in the MCU. I say, so again, they had to figure out a way to introduce the X-Men into the MCU, just like they did with every other movie. Yeah. They introduced Blade at the end of the Eternals. So same thing. They had to be able to introduce the X-Men some way, somehow. Yeah, and they picked Ms. Marvel to do it. So yeah, you're gonna have a lot of people that don't like it. I, for one, was thrilled, but you can't please everybody.
Yeah. I'm fine with. They've been hinting at the X-Men coming to the MCU. Multiverse of Madness was a definite hit. The fact that they're bringing back the old classic 1997 X-Men TV show with new episodes on Disney Plus, that's another hint. This is the third hint. So I think the X-Men are gonna be coming sooner rather than later. Comic-Con is I think this upcoming Friday, so there might be a potential announcement. And Disney has a potential announcement, and apparently there is rumors and leaks that I watched. This one guy said that potential. I forgot the actor that might play Cyclops, but they said another leak is the fact that the Professor X for the MCU universe could be Juan Carlo Esposito, which, good God!
I was like, yeah.
So hopefully those are true. Hopefully.
I love Giancarlo Esposito as an actor, man. He has shown range in so many doggone episodes he's done over the years. I think he would be perfect as Professor X. A lot of people probably aren't crazy about it because he's not the stereotypical, white guy, but again, man, that's what change is for, man.
Yeah. I was if I could actually go get it real quick. Hold on. I know we're out of time. Where is it? I was introduced to this guy just playing Far Cry 6. So
exactly.
Anyways, let's go on to the final thing before we get out of time. Then credit scene is pretty much Kamala sits on her bed. All of a sudden, her bangle starts resonating, just starts lighting up. All of a sudden, she goes through her closet and comes out Captain Marvel. And she's just looking around and sees everything. She's like, what the hell's going on? And the episode ends off with the fact that it says Ms. Marvel will return in the Marvel. So apparently, and more than likely, Kamala is somewhere in space, and that's going to lead into...
they switch places.
Yeah, the Marvels, or Captain Marvel 2. So interesting post-credit scene. Nothing really to talk about. It just gets the hype level up for the Marvels movie that's going to be coming out next year, which I know at the time not a lot of people were too high on it because they didn't like the first Captain Marvel movie. I was fine with it, but now you get your hype levels up a little bit more for that movie to come out, which is going to contain Ms. Marvel, Photon, the girl from WandaVision, which was the black girl from WandaVision, and then obviously Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. But all in all, I enjoyed Ms. Marvel. I actually thought this show was really good. It's one of the better Disney Plus shows. My only issue is the villain thing, but I definitely like the whole culture aspect of this show. Iman Vellani's portrayal of Kamala Khan and her acting was just great. I definitely did love her family. The dad was probably like one of the best side characters, if not the best side character of this entire show. This is definitely underrated, and people who didn't go out of their way to go see this show because, I mean, and I understand if it's not your like, your cup of tea, I'm fine with that. But if you just purposely didn't go out to watch this because you're like all against Marvel now because you think Marvel sucks, we've already been through this discussion various times. Please go see it. It's actually very underrated. Actually, shockingly really good, and I think a lot of people would like it if you check it out and you actually give it a shot.
Well, I honestly think it's relatable to a lot of you young people out there. I mean, who can't relate to, a young person in the city, just trying to get by and by, wants to do certain things that her family and her culture, for all intents and purposes, wouldn't allow her to do, only to find out that her family had her back 100%. So I gotta admit, I love that family aspect. I love that culture aspect. I love the growth of Kamala from, this young teenager who's naive to the world, that wants to do so many things, to become this larger than life figure that her neighborhood and her culture can look up to. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I gotta admit, again, the whole villain thing, yeah, it was a Debbie Downer, but at the same time, it wasn't that big of a downer where I just couldn't like this show altogether. And I love the show altogether. And hopefully, I don't know if I doubt if they're going to get into another one, season 2, before the Marvels movie. So it was a good lead into the Marvels. And I think everyone who tries to watch it, goes to watch it, sees it, I think they'll enjoy it.
Yeah. But getting out of here, if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts on this series of Ms. Marvel. Sorry for getting this video a week later, but busy stuff. Hit that subscribe button if you want to get more Camp 15 content, whether it's anime or any other Marvel content, or hell, even DC content. We got to plan out when we're going to do that Superman and Lois video, but that will happen at some point, and stuff like that. I'm debating based on the announcement at Comic-Con if I should do a video. We'll see if the reveals are big enough and stuff like that, but we'll see. And then the next Marvel stuff we're talking about is She-Hulk, which will come out August 17th. So till then, that's pretty much it for Marvel content on the channel, but other than that, we'll see you guys August 17th for She-Hulk episode 1 review. Till then, guys, have a great rest of your day or night watching this video. Peace.
Later.